Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And today, what I'm going to be talking to you about is a topic that I actually talk a lot about. If I'm honest, I probably spend a lot of my social media time talking about this. And the reason why I talk so much about this is I have very rarely come across a man that is struggling with a lot of low self-esteem, depression, and problems with women overall without having this in common. And the thing that they all have in common, it's obviously in women as well, but it's more in men, is their addiction to pornography. Okay. Now, every time I found a man that really struggles, is super lonely, so depressed, on the verge of suicide, he can tell me so much that's going on in his life. He'll say, I did this and this happened at work and this and the other. And I will simply say, do you watch pornography? And the conversation shifts immediately. And this is what I want to talk to you about today, because I was under the impression that everybody knew pornography was bad for you. I was really under that impression. I thought it's like saying water is wet. I thought everybody knows this. But as I went online and started talking about pornography, the amount of anger and hostility I received from men, from men and women, but mainly from men about this issue, I was so surprised. I thought men would be embarrassed about watching pornography. And I thought they would be like, yeah, God, I know I shouldn't do it, but I keep doing it. But they actually genuinely defend it. And so what I'm going to do is talk you through some real observations from research, but also my personal observations of working with men who are addicted to pornography. Now, in terms of real observations, we all know one of the things that the main thing that pornography does. Firstly, we know it's highly linked to erectile dysfunction and poor sexual performance in general. Here's the myth of people that watch a lot of pornography, particularly young boys who are trying to educate themselves on how to be good sexually using pornography, is they think that they're going to learn something useful, and then whatever they learn, they apply it to a real woman. Here's the problem. Pornography doesn't model how to connect and how to make a woman feel good. The trick to good sexual intercourse for a woman is how you make her feel. Yeah, if you make her feel beautiful, if you make her feel loved, if you make her feel connected, if you make her feel like submissive, it's how you make her feel. Now, what pornography does is a man watching all these moves and then robotically repeating those moves on a woman who they haven't even established enough safety to create that relationship with yet. Women will need safety first, then experimentation. Now, if she's the type of woman that is okay with all the moves that you see on porn, and she's kind of also in the flow of that, you have to ask yourself, what kind of woman is this? That's not a healthy woman. Healthy women need to establish safety first, and then you can experiment with them. Then you can be aggressive, and then because they need to trust you first. Now, if you meet women who are totally okay with all this reenactment, that woman is obviously a bit broken, or she's so super promiscuous and so used to this behavior, but you can't even notice that because you're so consumed by your desire to receive pleasure. So the first thing that what happens is they reincarnate all these moves on these women. If she's healthy, will not enjoy the experience, and she'll filter herself out, and he'll never really hear from her again. If she's unhealthy, she's in sync with him, and he doesn't realize that there is a baseline kind of what the glue that's attaching these two people together is their sexual promiscuity. And then he might go on to invest and fall in love with her, not realizing she's probably hyper promiscuous. So what happens with men who watch a lot of pornography, they become compatible with very promiscuous women. And so they usually end up being cheated on. And they usually end up being manipulated. And they usually miss the fact that she might even be, an escort, or she might have worked in the sex industry, or she might have had another boyfriend, or she might have been sexually abused as a child, or whatever it is. There's so many red flags they start missing because all they're looking at is their sexual compatibility. If you're a porn addict, the woman that you're going to be sexually compatible with is not going to be a healthy one. Healthy women need you to establish connection, they need you to establish trust, and they need to establish safety before they can then experiment and before they can go on to do other things. Unhealthy women will skip all of that and join you in your threesomes, join you in your bondage, join you in your perversion. They'll join you in all your perverse sexual desires, and then you're surprised when she goes on to cheat on you, or you're surprised when you find out she slept with all your friends, or you're surprised when you find out she used to be a sex worker, because the lens of which you're judging the compatibility is broken. So the first problem is the type of women you're going to be compatible with is ruined. Second problem is you're not going to even get to that. A lot of men don't even get to that compatibility stage, because here's what pornography is. It's a way of vandalizing and hijacking your natural desires and your natural brain circuits that look for desires and happiness. So what I mean by this is men are attracted to beautiful things. That's how you create sexual desire. No worries with that. But what porn does is hijacks that natural desire, exaggerates it, so what's normal becomes unexciting. Now, there's research where they did this with butterflies, and they had all these male butterflies, and then they implanted a cardboard butterfly that was way bigger, way brighter, all these amazing colors, and they put that in the middle of all these male butterflies. And they found all the butterflies started trying to mate with this cardboard butterfly, and they became addicted to that cardboard. And then even when they put real butterflies in there, the male butterfly still chose the artificial cardboard butterfly to mate with, even though it was not happening. They still chose that over the real ones. Now, that's no different to human beings. What will happen to men who watch so much of this, of pornography, they can't get attracted to real women, particularly women who are on their same level. So what I'll find is I might speak to a man who may be born and raised in India, or maybe born and raised in a particular culture. And he's like, I don't find women in my culture attractive. I don't like the girls here. I don't like these girls here. I want European. I want this. And then I say, have you been watching porn? And immediately they're like, no, not that much, not that. I'm not stupid. Yeah, where are you getting this from? Well, where you're getting this from is what you're watching. What you're watching will determine your desires. And similarly, nobody Googles or looks for porn for women around the same age, or women around the same ethnicity, or women around same anything, same education background. They simply look for their fetishes. So what happens in the real world, they don't look for compatibility on their demographics. They won't look for somebody who is age appropriate. They won't look for somebody who's culturally appropriate. I'm not saying you have to stay in your culture, but usually cultural compatibility leads to more long-lasting relationships. You're from the same country, you speak the same language. Now I see men who have nothing in common with a girl living in the middle of Thailand, or from South America. They can't even speak the same language, but they're thinking about getting married. And I'm thinking, where are you getting this idea that you're compatible? Well, that's their porn searches. Now, they're going to deny this. And they're going to say, oh my God, you're generalizing, you're this, you're that. What do you have in common with a woman half your age and from a completely different culture? You have no shared experiences. None. You don't even speak the same language. But you're attracted to her because that's your search on Pornhub. And you're using that as the glue to your relationship. So you end up finding it very difficult to form real life connections with women who have the similar values, similar demographics, similar education status, similar financial status, because you're ignoring and bypassing all of that to skip to a woman who's similar to your porn searches. And then you wonder why you're lonely. It's not good. Now, the other thing about pornography and the addiction to pornography is it really stumps a man's emotional development. Now, the reason why I say that is because porn really, really shows women who there's no real consent. And what happens is there's a lot of sexual violence. Now, men who watch too much porn, they start to blur the lines of consent. And what I mean by that is they see consent as permission rather than desire. What I mean by this is some men, especially men with high self-esteem, they only want to be with women who want them. They get turned on by the idea that this woman is so turned on by them. It's almost like this mutual attraction that gets them excited. That's what they want. They want to see her so excited, so enjoying herself. Their pleasure comes from her pleasure. And that's how they define consent. So even if it's their wife, if she's not into it, they're not into it. They want to see a mutual connection. They want to see mutual safety. They want to see mutual kind of climaxing. That's what they want to see. That's usually the healthy way to see sex. But with men with low self-esteem, they have zero understanding of what a woman's desire even looks like, because most of the time they're watching pornography where it's non-consensual. And secondly, they don't even know what a woman that desires them would feel like. They've never experienced that. As long as they've got permission, whether that's through pornography or whether that's through an escort, that's enough for them to be satisfied. So they're not even taking into account whether she's enjoying it, whether she wants to be there, what kind of financial issue she's in for her to be in this position. They're not processing her emotion. They're taking the fact that she said yes as consent, rather than the fact that does she desire you? Does she want you? So what that turns into is a man going on to escorts and using escorts. And the use of escorts is rationalized rape, in my opinion. And the reason why I say that is, I especially because it's so glamorized in this day and age, especially, or like you look at these Instagram models who are escorts and they're ending up on private jets and so on, you're thinking, well, she doesn't seem that abused, and I highly doubt someone forced her. She obviously wants to be there. Of course, I'm not denying that she wants to be there, but does she desire you? Does she desire you? Now, the mindset of a rapist is, I don't care if she desires me or not, I want to have sex. How is that different to a man that hires an escort? Of course, she's given you permission, but has she desired you? Probably not. Would she choose you if you weren't paying her? Probably not. So the disconnect that the man who's addicted to pornography and then goes on to use escorts, the disconnect he has from a woman's emotional well-being is similar to the man that would, in previous generations, be a rapist. Now, I know that sounds very harsh and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, whatever it is. But here's the thing. When you look at the effects of pornography, and there's millions of studies on pornography, there's only been one benefit. And that benefit is it reduces the prevalence of rape and sexual assault. Now, if the only impact porn is having, any only positive impact porn is having is it's reducing rape, what does it tell you about rapists? Where are they now going? They've turned going from raping women to pornography. So what does pornography, think about the appetite of the men pornography caters to. The men that would regularly be rapists are now turning to pornography to an extreme level. If that's I'm not saying every man that watches porn is a rapist. Of course, I'm not saying that. And of course, I'm not saying every man that uses escorts is a rapist. I'm not saying that. But what pornography does is it removes the need for consent. You are watching a naked woman perform sexual acts without really her consent. You've got permission, but you haven't got her desire. That mentality is not good for a man, because he's now shifting from a man that's trying to please a woman to now just a man who's just trying to have access to a woman. And that's not good for your masculinity, because what part of being a masculine man involves is making sure he provides a level of pleasure to his partner that she can't access somewhere else. That should be something that he should strive towards, not one that just says, I don't even care if you like this or not. I just need a fix. That's weird. Through lack of a better word, that is weird. Now, when you meet people with high self-esteem, there's nothing that they would hate more than being sexually intimate with somebody who doesn't want them. You're uncomfortable in that. But people with low self-esteem, particularly if they've been watching a lot of pornography, consent is just permission. They don't need desire. Okay? So the most important thing of why, porn is so bad for men is it really does lead them to being manipulated. It really, really does lead them to being manipulated by women in the real world. Because what will happen is the moment somebody pleases them sexually, he becomes a slave to her. Because he's made his mind up that women are essentially there to cater to his sexual desires, the moment he meets one that does, she can get away with murder. She can say what she wants. She can do what she wants. She can ask for what he wants. He will stay put because she gives him the sexual gratification he's been craving. He no longer looks at whether she is good to him, whether she's good to his family, whether she's respectful, whether she's abusive or not. He doesn't look at those things anymore. His lens of selecting a partner becomes so narrow and becomes so fleeting and so fragile that women can't respect him. So, because she knows all she has to do is please him sexually and he'll do whatever she wants, she becomes powerful over you. And it's not something that we find attractive. So, there are millions and millions of reasons why pornography is bad for you. But one thing I would say is if you're suffering with manipulative women, if you're constantly getting cheated on, if you are finding it difficult to please your partner, look at your pornography usage first and foremost. If there is a problem with that, there'll be a problem with everything else when it comes to women. If there's not a problem with that, then there might be other factors. But we start with pornography, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.